if an attorney's like, oh gosh, we need to start over. We can't do this. There's a good chance you should probably just get a second opinion with another attorney. Hi, this is Jeff Mersace, the Plain English Attorney, and we've got a good video, and I get this question all the time, either when my clients are moving out of state or someone's moving in state and they're reaching out to us. And that question is, I'm moving states. Is my trust still good? All right, let's talk just a little bit about some of the main points of whether or not your trust is still valid. When we're talking about whether your trust is valid, it really depends on state by state requirements and whether or not your particular state is going to see that it was executed with the right formalities. If you think it's important for educational videos like this to get out there, then please help us out by subscribing to the channel. Now, just in general, if you look at the very basics of trust law, and this is what I learned when I was in law school. Okay, it's got to be in writing. It's got to be, it's got to be in writing, and it has to have some type of property, whether it's a dollar or it's actual real estate or it's something. And there has to be a trustee and a beneficiary. So you've kind of got these main components that, all right, it's in writing, here's the property, the writing describes how it's supposed to be handled on behalf of the beneficiary. Now, when we talk about, is my trust still good? Most of the time, we're talking about estate planning, we're talking about your revocable living trust and whether or not it is still good. Let's talk about some of those state formalities. In writing, we kind of did away, I don't want to say universally, I'm only licensed in North Carolina, but these kind of oral trusts, they're not trustworthy because now it's based on somebody hearing what it was and remembering, and memory is a very funny thing. So a lot of states require, okay, it's got to be in writing. It's got to be signed by the person who's creating the trust. That's a pretty universal thing. And again, it's proof. You actually signed it because it's your document. It's kind of a will substitute. I hear this a lot. It's a will substitute. Well, it's avoiding probate. So in some states, and I don't believe North Carolina is one of them, it has to have at least one witness or more witnesses. Now, North Carolina doesn't require witnesses, but for many years now, when we create a new trust, we're doing it with 2 witnesses. Well, why if North Carolina doesn't require it? Because other states might, and we want it to be movable if that's what our clients so choose. If they want to move to another state, having their will be not valid in that other state, that's kind of an issue for us. They spent good money. We want to make sure that it's potentially valid in those other states. Now, I always tell them check it out with an attorney and make sure. So we include those witnesses, and we have for a good number of years. Like, the only exception is we have some clients going back 20 years or so, and we used to do it without witnesses. And well, if we're just updating it and it's a couple of minor nudges and no, we're never leaving North Carolina, all right, fine. Another potential requirement, whether it's a requirement or just a good idea, it's notarized. If it's notarized, if there's ever any question, you don't have to go and contact the witnesses, because when a document like a trust is notarized, it's as if those witnesses are swearing under oath. Yes, they actually signed this. That doesn't have to be confirmed that, yes, it was their signature down the road. So as just a standard, when we're talking about a trust, to make it, again, valid, it's in writing, signed, witnessed, and notarized. Now, some states, they just keep it simple. Look, whatever requirements we have for a last will and testament in terms of in writing, signed witness, no, it's going to be the exact same thing for the trust because, again, it's a will substitute. Now, let me talk just a bit. That original question is my trust still good? Well, okay, good might be another question. Is the trust still doing everything you want it to do? That's a kind of an ongoing question of quality. I'm going to do another video pretty soon on all of the different potential contingencies and why there's some stuff it may sound like this doesn't really apply to you, but it's kind of good to have it in there. If you're moving states and you're going to go and see an attorney to check out your trust anyway, you might as well also do that examination. Is it still good for your situation? Is there anything that needs to be changed because the situation has changed? Now, let's go and move on to what should be changed. The way we do our trusts, it's kind of rare that they need, oh no, we've got to do a wholesale different thing. Well, usually that's at the point where goals have drastically changed, and maybe it was a couple and one of them died, and it's the widower moving away for family, and everything is so radically different that they might as well start over. All right. But other than that, with the way we do our trusts, if an attorney's like, oh gosh, we need to start over, we can't do this, there's a good chance you should probably just get a second opinion with another attorney, because it's just not common with the trusts that we put together because they're that complete. But I do tell my clients, because the question sometimes comes up when we're initially putting it together, what if I decide to move out to California or Georgia or somewhere where my kids and grandkids are? Is this still going to be good? Yeah, but you really should look at a couple things. First, you always want to have a healthcare power of attorney that's from the state that you're going to reside in. Doesn't mean the ones we do aren't necessarily going to be valid. It's more of a practical matter. It's hospitals and doctors and other medical and health facilities. They're used to seeing healthcare powers of attorney drafted and formatted a certain way because that just happens to be the way all of the attorneys in their state are doing them. It's probably a good idea just to make sure you've got that document in conformity with what is usually going on there, so there doesn't end up being a question, oh, well, this doesn't look like the ones. We're just going to send it to the legal department and wait for an answer. Well, in a health crisis, that's a big thing. You don't want to have to, quote, send it to legal to get an answer. You might as well have it the way that the attorneys and law firms are drafting it in that particular state. Same thing with the durable general power of attorney that's accompanying your revocable trust. Banks, financial institutions, and other places, they're used to seeing the durable general power of attorney, that financial power of attorney, done a certain way, so it might as well line up with what's done in that state. Now, some of my clients will actually split time between different states. They keep both sets of documents with the same people, and we make sure that neither one of those healthcare powers of attorney or financial powers of attorney have clauses that say they're negating the other, and we put the same exact people in the same order. If they're spending 6 months in Florida and 6 months in North Carolina, or another common one, 6 months in North Carolina and 6 months in New York, they can have both sets of documents just because, again, they're used to seeing it one way in one state, they're used to seeing it another way in another state. There's also whatever the state has as a living will, or the advanced directives. It's that kind of end-of-life care and what they want. You want to have that in the particular format that the state is used to seeing. This way you don't have to worry about, again, are we going to send this to the legal department? It's there, it's nice, it's clear. So usually it's those 3 documents that should be redone to the way it's used to being seen in the state that you're moving into. So I hope you found that information useful. If you did, please go ahead, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us get the word out and keep this information at the forefront when people are looking for it. So as I always tell my clients, and I'll tell you, please stay safe, plan ahead, and enjoy life. And whatever you do, make it a great day.